The moon is a spaceship. It was built on Jupiter about 38 million years ago. And between the time it was built and 15,000 years ago, it's been touring around our solar system. Our solar system, we're told by NASA there's 9 planets. There's actually 40. There's the Earth plus 39. And each of those planets has a civilization, and each of those planets has moons that have civilizations. There's so much going on out there that, we could not possibly grasp how much is going on in our solar system. There's so much air traffic control. It's fantastic. The amount of trade that goes on, both technologically and sociologically, it's just amazing, all the stuff that's going on. So it was made on Jupiter.
By who? By what race?
By, I don't know.
Just some ET race, yeah.
And it's been towed around to the different moons doing exactly what it's doing now, and that is monitoring whoever lives on there and abducting or doing whatever it is they would like to do. Now, it doesn't have its own propulsion. It has to be towed. And our moon was towed into its orbit now about 15,000 years ago, just after the Ice Age, the last Ice Age. And when man first became aware of the moon, aware of the skies, there was no moon, and then there was 2 moons, and then there was 1 moon. And we think that the 2 moons was the vehicle that towed our moon into space. There's a guy named Norman Berggren who's passed away now, very knowledgeable, had so many degrees and works with so many of our aerospace companies doing different things. He lived in Los Altos Hills, which was south of San Francisco, and worked at Lockheed, retired in 1986, and got a hold of some of the Voyager photos of Saturn's rings. And he wrote The Ringmakers of Saturn.
Right. Is that about the fuel coming out in the rings?
Yeah. The spaceship.
The spaceship, yeah.
There's 3 of them that he saw. And one of the biggest is 30,000 miles long and 2,400 miles in diameter. Anyway, I thought it'd be really nice to meet this guy, and I wrote him, and I just happened to be going to the UFO conference in San Jose in 2005. And I went by his house, met him, and we became friends, very good friends over the years. Unfortunately, passed away a couple of years ago, but in the back part of The Ringmakers of Saturn, he discussed how the moon was towed into its orbit and his proof. And his proof is that Mare Orientale, one of the craters on the back, is not actually a crater, but it's a place. It has concentric rings,
right.
And he thinks that's where they grabbed onto it. And he proposed that an EMV, electromagnetic vehicle, towed it into place. I said, where do you think it is now? And he said, I think they parked it on the far side until they're ready to use it again. So I started looking for it and found it immediately on the crater Tsiolkovsky. And Tsiolkovsky's on the far side. It has a very interesting history. NASA has airbrushed, completely changed the character of that crater 8 times. And, it's absolutely for sure that is the electromagnetic vehicle that towed the moon into orbit. We wanted to go to the moon forever, but we have this Van Allen belt, which is in place around the Earth. We sent 3 rockets into space. They all had Geiger counters. 2 of them worked and gave us the readings, tremendously high readings of radiation. No way could we penetrate it. And there's 2 belts, one that goes from 500 to like 10,000, and the other goes from 10,000 to 25,000. Very, very lethal. Just no way could mankind do that. So I talked to him about that also. And the moon has a civilization. There's humans that live up there. And of course, everybody says, oh, well, then we did go to the moon.
Well, yeah, right.
No,
well, that was my next question.
We aren't the only humans in this universe,
Well, are there any Earth humans there?
Not that I don't know. They've picked up thousands of Earth humans and taken them there for visits.
Right.
One of whom was Howard Menger in 1956. Howard Menger wrote a book called From Outer Space to You. And when I read the book, I thought it was really great. Found out that not only he was invited up there, but there was a number of other people, scientists and other people with him.
Was it the United States, or was it a group of
different countries?
Different countries were all grouped together.
Right.
Yeah.
And they told him that they had been doing this for 100 years, taking people up. But of course, nobody wants to tell that story because nobody's going to believe it. And he became a advisor to the Pentagon when he got back because he knew so much about what was going on. They took him there for 2 weeks. First week is spent going into decompression because the breathable atmosphere is equal to about 15 to 18,000 feet here on Earth. And of course, if they were just to plop you down there, you would have a problem.
Yeah.
So what they do is gradually decompress them until they're used to that, and then they bring them down, and they take them all around the moon. There's a train that travels to what he calls a copper highway, and he doesn't know how it goes, but it's very silent and goes very fast. When they go out in the desert, the train stopped, and they were allowed to stand out at high noon to see that it wasn't as hot as NASA says.
Right.
And just very nice people, very advanced, and they've taken thousands of people over the years. People don't say that, won't tell their story, because they know that they won't be believed.
Yeah, no one's going to believe.
One of which, the daytime sky, the color is saffron yellow. And
I've heard about this, yeah.
And I wrote to him and sent him 6 shades of saffron yellow and asked him to put an X on the shade closest to the daytime color. That's another reason why we didn't go to the moon, because NASA, all their photos are black skies.
I know. I was going to talk about that. Yeah, what do you think about that? And how do they fake the whole...
And like Chang 4, the Chinese just put up I wrote a couple of pages on what a ridiculous set of photos that was. You know, they've got shadows going every which way on it.
Of course, all these pictures from the ISS and from satellites never have stars in the background either.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because they're just all...
Because, a lot of those pictures are fake. Everything that we see from the moon basically all come from the Lunar Orbiter series. Boeing built that camera and spacecraft, and it was 5 of them were launched between 1965 and 1967. And they took thousands and thousands of photos and developed them as the craft was in orbit. And then they crashed into the moon. There's fantastic pictures. By complete sheer accident, have collected about 35 of them, and some of them have been airbrushed, but we can see more than anybody else would. That picture right down there by the electric piano, Copernicus, it was a photo taken on angle, and it's a fantastic picture, but there's so much going on in there. When I first started talking about people on the moon, my friend Bob Lazar, who was the one that worked up at S4, he's skeptical. He doesn't believe anything unless he touches it.
Right.
And I was over at his house going on and on about this, and when I left, he said, "John, you realize now that if any of this stuff is true, I'm going to have to kill myself." And I said, "Yeah, let's put that on paper." So I've got that note in my records here, and it says, "I, Bob Lazar, promise to kill myself if any of John's moon stuff is true." And so when I sent to NASA to get that picture there, I was expecting an 8x10.
For sure, yeah.
Bullshit. But somebody, somewhere along the line, sent me a 15x20 negative of that shot. I never did find out who it was, but this was in the early or mid-90s, and in Las Vegas, there was nobody that could give me a positive of 15x20 negative.
Right.
The technology didn't exist.
Right.
So anyway, I had to wait 5 years for the technology to get to Las Vegas, and on the top right side at the very top, there's what we call the parking garage. It's a 3-story structure, about 300 feet in width, and it has a ramp on the side that looks like it's a parking ramp. So as a
Right.
joke, we
I
call it the parking garage. So I took the 15 by 20 over to Bob's house, and he looks at it and says, "Damn, you're right, John. There's no way that's a natural thing." And I said, "Okay, Bob, now